Thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. My name is Christina and I'm the Junior Product Manager here at Sciwheel. Today I have with me Chris.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining.
Thank you everyone. So today's webinar is part of the UKSG conference. We'll be showing you Sciwheel, what we're all about, our mission. Chris and I will also provide a short demo to include the key features that we have here at Sciwheel. We will also leave some time for Q&A at the end, so I definitely encourage you all to ask us all the questions that you have, and we will try our best to answer them at the end. Okay, so what is Sciwheel? So Sciwheel's mission is to really progress research and discovery. At the start, Sciwheel was born out of as a reference manager, helping users organize their references into certain folders, etc. But then we realized, as academics, students, researchers begin to prepare their academic outputs, whether this is an article, thesis, or book chapter, there are so many components that make up the project beyond references. There are many, for example, small notes taken from a class, taken from a journal club, data, tables that make up part of that project, whether it's to be submitted to a journal or anything else. And so as Sciwheel grew, we have developed a suite of tools that goes beyond reference managing, which we will show you later, but this includes smart citation suggestions, annotations, and team collaboration. We really want Sciwheel to really be at the central of the whole research process, and hopefully where research all comes together. So how do we go about achieving this? We believe that finding, collaborating, creating are really some of the key processes that touches the whole research cycle. In the demo later, we'll be showing you how one reference that a user come across in PubMed, for example, will go through its journey through Sciwheel, how it becomes part of a shared project and is collaborated with others into being created as part of a document to be submitted. So as I mentioned, going beyond a reference manager, we have developed a suite of tools. So everything that we have on Sciwheel is online. That is our web app where, as you'll see later, all the references are managed. We've also developed a browser extension, plugins, which is compatible with Google Docs and Microsoft Word, as well as a mobile app, designed for users who are on the go to save references, whether they see this in email or Twitter, etc., to save this easily and to access it later. I should say here that, across this, these 4 different products, we support all the major browsers. Like I mentioned, we support Microsoft Word and Google Docs. And really, we had collaboration in mind behind all of this. We want to be able to help researchers who have different technology preferences and to be able to collaborate with each other without any barriers at all. And hopefully we'll be able to demonstrate this as well in our demo later, as well as how all the other parts facilitate each step of the research process. So I'm going to hand over to Chris, who will begin our short demo.
Great, thanks, Christina. So I'm just going to share my screen with you all now. Can we see the screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So basically, I'm just going to be taking you through a very whirlwind tour of Sciwheel. The product, there are too many kind of aspects of it to cover everything in this, so we're just going to go through the kind of very basics in a couple of tools. So we can see here that I've landed on the main kind of Sciwheel web app page. This is where the bulk of your work is going to get done, where you're going to create projects and upload references and make notes and organize and all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to go down on the left-hand side here. We have an import references button. Self-explanatory. It will give you various options for importing references from various sources, other reference managers, PDFs, all that kind of thing. Going further down, we've got references section, which is every reference that I've imported into my Sciwheel account. And this is now further filtered by different projects. So we have a reading list, which is kind of a preset project, basically for you to put any references that you find interesting, but you don't have time to read right now. You can throw them in there. We have both private and shared projects, which I can create by clicking a little plus button here. We're going to skip down to shared project. Well, actually, before I do that, I will mention a very important part, which is our customer support portal, which you can find in the chat down on the bottom right-hand side here. So this is where you get all the support you need for students and researchers. Will help you use the product. We can create custom citation styles. If you're having any questions or problems at all, just contact us. It's monitored by myself and by my colleague Robert. We're both part of the QA team as well, which basically means we're using the products every day. We're kind of very aware of workarounds and kind of limitations, and yeah, so we're quite familiar with the product. So any problems you have at all, you can just contact us there. And for librarians too, it kind of means that there's less time of you spent kind of fielding questions from your students, because you can just forward them on to us. So that makes things easier. So yeah, that's our customer support portal. So anything you need, we've got you covered. So going back to our shared project section now, I've already created a shared project, which I've shared with Christina, called COVID draft paper. There are no references in here now, but we're about to switch over to PubMed, and I'll show you how our browser extension works for importing and annotating articles. So switching over to PubMed now, you can see I've done a little search here. I've got 10 references loaded up in the search results, and the Sciwheel Browser Extension icon is here, top right-hand side. And you can see here that it's already detected the 10 references that we want to import. So we're just going to click on the icon here, and it'll give you a little rundown of what the references are. You can see titles, you can select them individually or select all, and you can choose a project to import them to. In this case, I'm going to choose our COVID draft paper project. So we just click add, and within a couple of seconds, you can see that they've been added. We can go back to our project, update the list, and you can see here that it's pulled in all of our references. Because it comes from PubMed, generally we import with full metadata. Anything with a DOI or PMID, generally the metadata is complete. So you can see here, it comes with everything you need to cite it correctly, titles, authors, abstracts, all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to open the PDF. Oh, that's one other thing too. You see the open PDF button here. So any open access articles, if they come with an open access PDF, then we'll import those automatically along with the references as well. So that's one of the aspects of the browser extension. The other one is highlighting and annotating, which I'm going to show you now. So just loading up a PDF. And so say we're reading through this, and I've kind of noted that this very first paragraph is quite interesting, and we'd like to include it in our paper. So you just highlight that. We can choose a highlight color, blue for now. And we can just leave a little note. And because this is in a shared project, basically all the references, all the notes, all the highlights are shared amongst everyone in the project. So now Christina will see this reference, and you will see the note that we've made. So just going back to the main page here, I'll go to our suggestions tab here. So this kind of uses our smart algorithm, which basically analyzes the abstract title, journal, and it will suggest kind of references that are related to that one. So it's kind of a handy way of getting references into your system that you may have missed otherwise, having relevant references suggested to you. That's quite a handy little thing. So we have a notes section, and we can see here that the note that I've added is listed here. Also an activity section, which will give you a rundown of anything that's happened in the project, basically. So references added, deleted, members joined and left, annotations, anything related to the shared project that'll show up in this activity feed. And there's a manuscript section, which any manuscripts we upload from Word or Google Docs, they will appear here and be kind of accessible by everyone in the project. So that's a very, very basic rundown of the Sciwheel web app and the browser extension. So we're going to fast forward in time a little bit now. So we've done all of our kind of annotating and organizing references, and we're moving on to the writing stage of the project. So I'm now going to hand back over to Christina, and she's going to show you how the Word 365 add-in works for citing and formatting references.
Thank you, Chris. Are you able to see my screen now? Yeah. So similar to Chris's kind of demo there, so what you are seeing is my Sciwheel account. As you'll see, these are my private projects that I've put in, and also the shared projects. So Chris has invited me to be a part of his COVID draft paper project, as you'll see. Exactly as what he was seeing, I am seeing the references that he has imported, all of them, as you can see. The suggestions as well will be similar. Again, notes here as well. In this kind of example that we are showing, me and Chris are writing a paper. But the shared projects is actually an incredibly useful feature that extends beyond group work, which are working towards an article, for example. We've seen many use cases where shared projects are used between professors and students as well, where the professor would share with the group of students, for example, references they believe are important to their work, that they should catch up on. Students and professors alike can then annotate, highlight important parts of the text, and to be then visible to everyone in the group, which is a great way of knowledge sharing, and to be able to here also reply to each other's notes. As Chris kind of showed, the activity here becomes really handy in that sense when there are more than 2 people, 5 people within the group. So Chris earlier made a highlight to a paper. So for me, as a person within the shared project, I can also directly see the highlight that Chris has made. So all I had to do was to click on the highlight, and then I'll see that Chris has said whether we should add this sentence to the paper. Again, it's a great way to just make sure everyone is on the same page and knows what highlights there are, and notes any notes that would have been made, excuse me. And so we can actually extend the possibility of a shared project into a word processor. So right now I am using Microsoft Word 365, which I have on the right here. This is the manuscript that me and Chris are writing. And you'll be able to see here that I can insert citations. I can filter this by project, by Tang, and a sort by date. Currently, the reference list here has all the references that I have, including the ones that Chris shared. If I wanted to go to the specific project that me and Chris had, I would filter by project, and I can see that I have the COVID draft paper. Again, I will see the references here, and I know that this is a really important reference that I have to insert here, and I can easily click Cite, and it will generate the reference. As well as the shared references that me and Chris have, we have the highlight and annotations. And again, without leaving the word processor, I can access this directly. I click here on the menu and then project references and notes. And then we'll see Chris's note here that perhaps actually this really important section should be added. So what I can do is to insert the whole note if I wanted to, where the highlight in italics will be directly from the text of the article. And we'll also insert the citation as well. So these shared projects are a great way, particularly for users who are writing together. They can cite from the same library and to, again, see each other's notes as well. one of the unique features of our plugin is that we are also is called Get Smart Citations. So Get Smart Citations, as I'll show you now, is if I highlight a piece of text and I click Get Smart Citations, similar to the article suggestions on our web app, Get Smart Citations will generate a list of suggestions based on the text that you have selected. So having selected this part of my manuscript and I click Get Smart Citations, I can see a list of suggestions that we believe that would be really relevant. This feature is particularly helpful in the case where, for example, I know there is a reference that should be included in this paragraph, but I just can't think of it right now, or I've forgotten. Or in the other case where I actually want to see what other references there are that I may have missed. Of course, these are just suggestions, and it remains still equally important for the students and academics to actually read through the paper to make sure it is relevant. And if it is, they can again save it to their project. They can open it directly, which will open in the browser, or they can just cite it if they already knew the paper and that is what they wanted to include. So as well as insert citations, project reference notes, one would expect the format citations and bibliography. So we have over 7,000 styles, as you'll be able to see here. But as Chris also mentioned, a customer support team is always ready to help. And sometimes the style that the user might need is just simply not in the list. And that is absolutely fine because our customer support team will always be there to help you provide guidance and to create a new style if that is necessary. So that is one of the things what our customer support can help. This is the basic overview of our plugins. Like I mentioned, this is available on Microsoft Word as well as Google Docs, which hopefully will help collaboration. And to that end of the demo, I'm going to jump back to the presentation and just carry on a little bit. So, excuse me. So, as I mentioned, the customer support team is great in helping our end users. But one thing that we also want to support is actually our librarians. So we have for librarians a number of resources that they are able to use, they're able to share with their students, to put on their site, to really help users understand Sciwheel, how to best use a certain feature, for example. As well as these library resources, we have a number of videos that we've created, which will hopefully accompany those resources. In addition, one of the more actually new and exciting feature that we've developed is a dashboard specific for librarians. So this dashboard is quite new, it's currently in beta testing, and we're really looking to receive feedback. So if you do have any specific questions around that, please do let me know. Happy to explain this in more detail. But this dashboard includes really some key metrics for librarians to understand the usage of a Sciwheel at their institution. So for example, a number of users in the last month, in the last year, for example, the number of projects they've created, private or shared, how many suggested articles have they been receiving. These are the metrics we hope will really help librarians make decisions on how we can better support you and the students, as well as providing you as well just a general overview of the usage. So this really wraps up our actually webinar. So thank you so much for your attention, and I'm going to jump to the Q&A or chat section to see if we have any questions. Okay. I believe there was a comment made on the chat earlier. I'm going to pause my screen sharing. So one question that has come up is importing references. Chris, maybe you're best to answer this as well. Someone has asked whether when you import a reference, whether that gets copied over or is that moved across completely. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about the import references that we have available.
Sure, absolutely. The very short answer to that question is no, you're not. You're not going to lose your original references. So say you're importing from another reference manager, EndNote or Mendeley, then it will, yeah, the original count, it will just leave. So basically all we're doing is making copies of those references and bringing them over into Sciwheel. So your original EndNote or Mendeley account will be untouched. It just simply makes copies. So you're not going to lose anything that you originally had in there.
Yep. And yeah, we extend the import references also to like Google Drive, Dropbox as well, in addition. I hope that answers your question. We also have another question. Is there someone at your stand at UKSG? Yes, we do. We have David and Jane, who are from our sales team, who will be at the virtual booth. So if you have any specific questions around that, please do drop by and say hello to them as well. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer your questions. Another question has come in. When will the librarian dashboard be available for librarians? How can I beta test it? Thank you for that question. That's great to hear. Again, let Jane know. Do drop by the virtual booth or feel free to email me directly, and we can discuss ways for you to access this. As mentioned before, this is quite an early stage we're releasing, so we're really hoping to gather as much feedback as possible to make sure, you know, it addresses what you may need. And we have another question. Can we draw with the browser extension, Chris?
By drawing, I'm guessing you mean more kind of freehand tools rather than just highlighting. We do have an option, not with the browser extension itself, but in that PDF page. Actually, I can probably share my screen and show you that quickly, where to find that. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, hopefully I'm sharing my screen now.
Yep.
Great, so if we go into the PDF page, if you click this little icon here, it will give you the drawing tools. So there are various tools. There's like text box, circle, square, shapes, underlines, arrows, all that kind of stuff that you can kind of, and freehand as well. We're still working on kind of optimizing this for use with stylus and Apple Pens, things like that. But yeah, some kind of basic sort of drawing tools are there and available for you to use.
Thank you, Chris. I hope that answers your question. Let me check if there's any more questions so far. It doesn't seem like it for now. But again, like I said, we have Jane and David at our virtual booth. If you have any questions at all, feel free to ask them, or myself or Chris will be more than happy to help. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day and the conference as well. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. And yeah, please do use the customer support portal as much as you need to. We're here to help. And yeah, hopefully we can help you get the most out of using Sciwheel.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.